You go. Can you go down low? How low can you go, Indiana Fever? Jeez, you guys have just turned this organization into a flat out joke. All of a sudden, Sophie Cunningham is hurt. All of a sudden, her elbow's messed up. Y'all smell that? Smells like BS. It smells like some punishment is being served out to Sophie Cunningham for going.
But here's where it gets messy, folks. Away from the cameras, that fierce loyalty was reportedly tearing the locker room apart from the inside. Word is Stephanie White had seen enough. She believed Sophie's fire was turning into a liability, with the technical fouls and hard-nosed defense of Clark throwing the whole team structure off balance. The coaching staff wanted control. Sophie wanted to protect her point guard. And that clash, insiders say, dragged the Fever into one of their darkest chapters yet. Picture the scene at the practice facility that morning. Cold, silent, heavy with tension before players even walked through the door. White reportedly called Cunningham into the front office alone. No teammates, no warning, no chance to brace herself. She was told her behavior was hurting the team's image. And get this, the same toughness fans credited for keeping Clark upright on the floor was the reason she was allegedly told to pack up and leave. Sources say it wasn't a public firing either. It was a quiet, indefinite suspension, with the team ready to tell reporters it was just a personal issue. Just sit with that for a second. You give everything, your body, your name, your career, to shield a teammate, and the organization you bled for shows you the door in silence. Witnesses say Sophie walked out with tears in her eyes, cleared her locker before anyone else showed up, and never made a scene. Just like she'd done on the court her whole career. She took the hit without complaint, heartbroken, and left wondering if the teammate she protected would ever even know the truth.
Is ridiculous. Look at the first comment, Evelyn. You guys are a clown organization. Here it says, Sophie hurt her elbow writing this for Stephanie White, didn't she? This is what Sophie Cunningham had. I will not pass to Caitlin again. I will not pass to Caitlin Clark again. This is what they forced Sophie Cunningham to do. Okay, that's how she hurt her elbow. CDS Sports, go rogue, win game, end up on injury report. Beatings will continue until morale improves. This is ridiculous, guys. This is ridiculous. Everybody knows this is clearly punishment for Sophie Cunningham. Chloe Peterson was the first to report on it. She said, Sophie Cunningham is questionable with a right elbow injury for tomorrow's game. She participated in the portion of practice open to the media this morning. Okay. And everybody knows every comment is that this is punishment. Look here, Sophie being put in timeout for speaking what's on her mind.
But here's the thing nobody in that front office saw coming, folks. They badly underestimated the bond between their franchise star and her protector. The moment Caitlin Clark walked in and spotted that empty locker, the whole building felt different. A staffer quietly broke the news, and within seconds, Clark wasn't just upset. She was furious. This wasn't a shrug-it-off moment. This was heartbreak mixed with pure anger. She knew exactly what had happened. The teammate who took every hit for her had been thrown under the bus to save face. Forget warm-ups. Forget shoes. Clark marched straight past the coaching staff and beelined for Stephanie White's office. And people in the hallway say they'd never seen her like this. What happened behind that door? Reportedly one of the rawest confrontations this franchise has ever seen. Clark laid it out plain. Sophie had taken every blow meant for her, stood in the fire every single time. She wasn't going to stand by while the one player who had her back got pushed out the door. White tried to explain it away. Organizational decision, restoring focus, the usual talk. Clark wasn't buying a word of it. And then came the line that could have shaken the entire league. Clark leaned in, looked her coach dead in the eye, and said, "Bring Sophie back right now, or she walks too." That's not a threat you shrug off. Within minutes, word reportedly reached league officials, and suddenly the commissioner's office was scrambling because the face of women's basketball might just be ready to walk away from the season entirely.
This organization is like the mafia. So everyone knows, it's clear as day that this is punishment for Sophie Cunningham. It's very, very, very obvious that this is punishment for Sophie Cunningham. The organization is a straight up clown show at this point. And then not only that, They have not addressed the smear campaign. They've gone out of their way to address any and everything else. They refuse to address the smear campaign led by Dan Dockich, who has been adamant about he's getting this information from the inside. Not only have they not addressed that, and he doubled down on it today. Dan Dockich was bombing again today. Stephanie White went on the same platform that took shots at Caitlin Clark and aired a hit piece. This is crazy. All of this is just flat out craziness. This Indiana Fever organization is a flat out joke. Sophie Cunningham is being punished for going rogue with Caitlin Clark, passing her the ball. You know they wanted that ball to go to Kelsey Mitchell. They didn't give a damn. That ball go to Kelsey Mitchell or come hell or high water. And that is what it is.
Now let's talk dollars, because this is bigger than one locker room, folks. League officials know exactly where the WNBA's boom is coming from. The sold-out arenas, the TV ratings through the roof, the jerseys flying off shelves. A huge chunk of that traces straight back to Caitlin Clark and the buzz around Indiana. So if Clark decides to sit out over how Sophie was treated, we're not talking about a small headache. We're talking about a genuine crisis. Some analysts are even warning the league could lose close to half its current audience overnight, because so many of these new fans tuned in for one reason, her. And her fan base isn't quiet about it either. Social media is already lighting up, fans demanding Sophie get treated fairly, and plenty of them cheering Clark on for standing her ground. Word is the commissioner is livid that Indiana let this spiral this far. Emergency meetings, PR teams scrambling to control the story. The whole season might now hinge on what the Fever decide to do next. So here's the question hanging over everything. Does White reverse course and bring Sophie back? Does Clark really walk away from a historic season to stand by her teammate? Because right now, folks, this isn't about X's and O's anymore. This is about loyalty, trust, and whether an athlete stands tall for the one person who always stood tall for her.
Isn't it obvious? Isn't it obvious that Dan Dockich is not lying about the information he's getting from within this organization as they refuse to address it? Dan Dockich doubled down on everything he said right here in this. He took the X. Yo, G, damn it, hold on. Steph White is calling. Gotta go to work. Keep hating. Keep stalking. So he's taking shots at the people that have been addressing him, adding on to the smear campaign that's going on against Caitlin Clark. It's ridiculous, but the fact of the matter is you can't blame Dan Dockich. You can't blame him. He's not lying about where he's getting the information from, which is why the Indiana Fever is so hush and damn quiet about it. He's not lying. None of them are going to come out and call him a liar. None of them have stepped up to the plate to address the smear campaign that's being launched at Caitlin Clark. She's being targeted. They're not saying anything because it's coming from them. They've gone on to address everything else, whether it's people coming at them for the draft. Lynn Dunn went and called us all complainers. Stephanie White addressing the fans saying, hey, these games are boring as hell now. These games are boring. The product stinks now. You've come over here and ruined the product. The games are entertaining. She addressed that in last game's pregame podium. They've addressed everything. The Indiana Fever's Twitter handle or X handle put a post up after last game saying, are you not entertained? They've been addressing everything publicly but this because they are in on it. Make no mistake about that. Make no mistake about that at all. And then Stephanie White, shout out to Mick.
Folks, do yourselves a favor and pay close attention to what Cheryl Reeve had to say, because her words were sharp, honest, and honestly worth every second of your time.
This is gross.
Well, we see Cheryl Reeve wearing a shirt today in support of trans kids. Trans kids belong on the shirt. This in the aftermath of Sophie Cunningham's recent comments. We actually saw Cheryl and Sophie speaking at center court pregame. And yesterday, Cheryl Reeve spent a lot of time talking at length with the media about...
Stop scrolling for 1 second. Because what's reportedly unfolding inside the Indiana Fever locker room might be the most emotional storyline the WNBA has seen in years. Far from the cheering crowds and the packed arenas, sources say this franchise has been quietly falling apart from within. And if the reports are true, what happened behind those closed doors could shake the entire league to its core. You probably thought this season was all about record-breaking numbers and jaw-dropping performances. But there's a deeper story hiding underneath all of that. A story about loyalty, betrayal, and one player who may be willing to walk away from everything just to stand by the teammate who always had her back. According to insider reports, head coach Stephanie White quietly suspended Sophie Cunningham, the same player many call the emotional backbone of Indiana's defense. But before that decision could be swept under the rug, Caitlin Clark, the biggest name in the league right now, reportedly found out. And what she did next sent shockwaves through the entire organization, delivering an ultimatum so bold it allegedly had league officials on edge. Stick around, because we're about to break down the alleged tears, the betrayal, and the moment Clark reportedly stared her own coach in the eye and made one thing crystal clear. If Sophie goes, she goes too. To really understand why this hit so hard, you have to first understand the bond between these two players. From the second Clark stepped into the league, she had a target on her back. Veteran players tested her. Opposing teams built entire game plans around roughing her up. Hard fouls and physical contact became just another part of her nightly routine. She needed somebody in her corner, somebody willing to take the heat, absorb the criticism, and put their own body on the line just so she could keep doing what she does best. That somebody was Sophie Cunningham. Every time an opponent threw a cheap shot or tried to rattle Clark, Sophie was usually the first one stepping in. She took the technical fouls. She took the hostile crowd reactions on the road. She rarely ever backed down. To the rest of the league, she became the villain. But inside that Indiana locker room, she was the one teammate who would defend Clark no matter the cost to herself. That kind of loyalty, though, was reportedly creating tension behind the scenes. Sources say Stephanie White had grown concerned that Sophie's fire was spiraling out of control, that the emotional outbursts, the technical fouls, and the aggressive way she defended Clark were throwing off the whole team structure. The coaching staff wanted discipline and order. Sophie, on the other hand, was focused on one thing only, protecting her point guard. And that clash in priorities reportedly pushed the Fever toward one of the darkest moments in franchise history. Picture the scene at the practice facility the morning this all supposedly went down. Cold, tense, heavy with an unspoken dread before most players had even walked through the door. White allegedly called Sophie into a private meeting with zero warning. No teammates around. No chance to prepare for what was coming. She was reportedly told that her behavior was hurting the team's image and focus. And even though plenty of fans believed her toughness was exactly what kept Clark upright through the physical punishment, Sophie was allegedly told to clean out her locker and step away. A quiet, indefinite suspension, with the plan being to tell the media it was simply a personal matter to keep things out of the headlines. Just take a second and imagine that. You sacrifice your body, your reputation, your entire career defending a teammate, and the very organization you fought for shows you the door without a word to anyone. Witnesses say Sophie left that meeting with tears in her eyes, quietly packed up her locker before the rest of the team even arrived, and never made a scene. Just like she'd done on the court her whole career, she took the hit in silence. But here's what the coaching staff apparently never saw coming. They seriously underestimated the bond between their franchise star and her protector. The moment Clark walked in and noticed that empty locker, the entire mood in the building shifted. A staffer reportedly broke the news to her, and within seconds, Clark wasn't just disappointed. She was furious. This wasn't a shrug-it-off kind of reaction. This was heartbreak mixed with real anger. She knew exactly what had happened. The one teammate who took every hit meant for her had just been sacrificed to protect the team's image. Forget warm-ups. Forget shoes. Clark reportedly marched straight past the coaching staff and headed for Stephanie White's office, and those nearby say they'd never seen her like that before. What happened behind that door was reportedly one of the rawest confrontations this franchise has ever witnessed. Clark laid it all out. Sophie had absorbed every hit meant for her, stepped up every single time somebody tried to intimidate her. She wasn't going to quietly watch the one player who protected her get pushed out the door. White reportedly tried to explain, organizational decision, restoring focus, the usual line. Clark wasn't having any of it. And then came the moment that could shake the entire league. Clark reportedly leaned across the desk, looked her coach dead in the eye, and said, "Reverse the suspension immediately, or she walks away too. If Sophie goes, Clark goes." That kind of ultimatum doesn't stay quiet for long. Word reportedly reached league officials within minutes, and suddenly the commissioner's office was in full damage control mode, because the biggest star in women's basketball might actually be prepared to sit out the rest of the season. And here's why that terrifies the league so much. Officials know exactly where this recent explosion in popularity is coming from. The sold-out arenas, the skyrocketing ratings, the jerseys flying off the shelves. A massive chunk of that traces directly back to Clark. If she refuses to play in protest, we're not talking about a minor dip. Some analysts are warning nearly half the league's current audience could vanish overnight, because that many fans tuned in specifically to watch her. So now the entire league is holding its breath. Does White reverse the suspension and bring Sophie back? Does Clark really walk away from a potentially historic season to stand by her teammate? Because at this point, this isn't about wins or stats anymore. This is about trust, loyalty, and whether an athlete stands up for the one person who always stood up for her. So now I want to hear from you. Would Clark be justified putting her whole season on the line for Sophie? Or does White have every right to discipline a player she felt was hurting the team? Drop your honest opinion in the comments below. Hit that like button if you believe loyalty between teammates still matters, and share this with every basketball fan who needs to see what's reportedly happening inside that locker room. Subscribe so you never miss the next update on this explosive story, because trust me, this is far from over.